Hello and welcome all of you fabulous folks to the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament. We have a fabulous gold sword bracket matchup between the number 1 seed Shkoople and the number 16 seed Virtuacat. This is the first race in a gold bracket triple header that we have today. And I am joined by my co-commentator, Kaesden. How are you doing today, Kaesden?
I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to seeing a good close race today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I think today is going to be hard for me to get anything done with all three of these, all three great gold sword bracket matches going today. This is probably the biggest day that we've had for the Mentor tournament so far. So this being the first week of brackets, we have an open seed with mentors, and it looks like both racers are ready to go, and we're going to be starting in about 3 seconds. Here we go. We have an Uncle start for Shkoople and a Sanctuary start for Virtuacat. So divergence right from the beginning.
That's always nice to see some divergence. Let us get a preview of 2 areas right away.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of people who really like the Uncle route where you start in Link's house, pick up a couple of extra chests basically in the house and the 2 in the Uncle cave, and you still get to do the tree pull by throwing a sign at a guard, which is always fun.
So far, we haven't gotten really much of anything.
We did
Just
see
some
bombs.
money and a heart. Yeah, we do have some bombs on Shkoople's side.
Yeah, it looks like the early tree pulls are bombs, which is going to make routing through Kakariko significantly easier. But yeah, in terms of items, we don't see a whole lot. We did get a map check. We have Crystal Eastern, Crystal Tower of Hera, and a Pendant Desert. So a split of crystals and pendants in the light world. Doesn't give us a whole lot of information yet about the texture of the seed.
No, but I do like seeing as many crystals as possible in the light world. It tends to lead towards quicker seeds, I seem to feel like, just because there's a bigger chance you could end up with a pendant on like Turtle Rock or Mire, which can cut out some of the longer dungeons. But we're heading over to CAC. We're going to get our first look at what's in Blind's hut.
Yeah, we're finally going to get a flurry of checks that'll start to give us some actual information about what we're going to see in this seed. We see the Arrow of Destiny in the Lost Hideout.
Got a Quake medallion, some more money, some more bombs, and a sword in Blind's hut.
So that's always good to see, an early, easily accessible sword. Open seeds can get really tricky when you go for a really long time without much to fight with.
Yeah, it definitely brings a different dynamic to the game. You're running through it with no sword for who knows how long. I've seen and played seeds that can go over an hour before you find a sword.
Yeah, and having a sword makes the prospect of going back and doing escape significantly easier as well. That's one of the big challenges of trying to get through the escape sequence and open, is just not having a weapon. Red Boomerang in Cackwell, and that's a fun item to find, but not particularly useful for progression.
Yeah, so far I'd say the only real thing of significance that we've found is that sword. then on its own, even that doesn't really give us much direction as to where they might be going next. So I expect after they clear CAC, we're probably just going to see them both head down towards either South Shore and or Uncle.
Oh, and we just got a hammer, which gets us part of the way to Dark World access. It means we're still looking for gloves and a moon pearl, but the hammer is really nice to be able to do tempered sword damage early on, and boots in the back of tavern.
So early boots is always nice to see.
Early boots, early sword, we're going to get to be able to move around pretty easily in this seed. And the bottle and library kind of incentivizing turning right back around and heading back up the sick kid.
You know, I think that's one of my least favorite things to see is after you get boots when you're checking library, to see a bottle up there, because it just puts that thought in your mind. Do you go back? Looks like Virtuacat decided, no, we'll go back later. Next time we're in the area, sick kid is just going to have to sit there for a while and wait.
That's interesting because, oh, maybe he's doing bonk rocks and going back in.
That's possible.
Yeah, maybe that's faster if you're also trying to route in bonk rocks. We'll see if Shkoople does the same or if he ends up going back into Kakariko.
Yeah, we find a cane of Samaria.
Yeah, red cane, best cane in my book. It lets you basically bug out significant portions of dungeons, or just make them easier with being able to slap that block down on a switch. And Sick Kid has Master Sword.
That leaning towards if they find a lamp, it could end up being an Agassi.
Yeah, so that early hammer might not be part of our Dark World access. And is that another sword on Lumberjack?
I missed it if it was.
I think I saw the bottom of a hilt. I don't know if chat can confirm.
Yeah, that was a sword, it looks like. I just caught it on the restream.
Yeah, our tracker confirming also that he spotted a sword in Lumberjack. So we know where 3 swords are already. Even with the items that we found in Kakariko, we still don't have anything that's really going to push our runners to go one way or the other yet. We don't have bow for the eastern area. We don't have a book to get into desert. We don't have gloves or flute for mountain. So it looks like Virtuacat's going to take the time to go into escape, while Shkoople is doing the South Shore thing.
Yeah, at this point they're just looking for their Dark World access or a little bit more confirmation if they're going to have to do Aga or not. I think Aga is very unlikely at this point since all they need is a glove and a moon pearl.
And there's the glove.
Speaking of a glove, still need that moon pearl though.
Yep, they're still going to be locked into doing the Light World checks until they find that moon pearl somewhere. And Shkoople just continuing using the boots to head quickly over to Ice Rod Cave to see what's there. We'll see if he'll use the boots in Ice Rod Cave to do some water dashing.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a hobo check. I don't think they'll go up to the Zora area without a moon pearl, since that's going to make getting into the waterfall cave a little bit tougher unless they skip hobo.
Hook shot in the Ice Rod Cave, which now makes Mountain pretty interesting. It would be a sequence break at this point because lamp or flute isn't available yet, but with gloves, hookshot, and hammer, it is possible to get up to the mountain and clear a significant portion of it, including all of Hera.
Yeah, and we are seeing this water walk, and it looks like we're going straight to the waterfall cave. But I like that call when you don't have a Moon Pearl to fake flipper in. This way you get more checks than just going to hobo.
Virtuacat not seeing anything particularly interesting so far in Escape. Just a bunch of junk, really. Yeah, and a heart piece at the bottom. Nothing particularly interesting in the front portion of Escape. And it looks like Virtuacat's not going to take on the sequence break of Dark Cross. Just heading to South Shore.
Shkoople starting at the Sanctuary. I have a feeling we're going to get a mountain check here next. Or possibly back of Escape. Yeah, looks like we're going to the mountain.
Shkoople also didn't do Bonk Rocks quite yet, so he's going to pick up his Samaria. Maybe also do the Lumberjack check. And we'll see if he sequence breaks up to the mountain.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be back of Escape.
Back of Escape, that makes sense. With gloves now, that's open.
Yeah, with gloves and boots, you can just bonk your way in there. You don't have to worry about even wasting bombs.
That's one of the fabulous things that I found out about the casual boots mode, where even though it's a standard open where you have to go through Escape, you don't have to worry about picking up bombs to get through the walls in the back. And we do have blue mail in that back of Escape, but nothing progression wise. And Shkoople's gonna work his way to Dark Cross through in the dark. Virtuacat picking up his gloves. We'll see. Oh, it looks like he's going to skip out on the hookshot in Ice Rod Cave. Uh-oh, that might be a problem. Hookshot's one of those items that, regardless of the seed, it's logically required to complete the game. And given the difficulty of hovering in this game, I don't think that we're going to see that. I think that both players are going to require hookshot.
And we find a flute in Dark Cross.
Out of logic flute, which means lamp has to be our... Well, no, that's not true. We need to find...
be a fire rod.
Fire rod, yeah. But we need to find lamp or fire rod before we have logical access to mountain. But that makes it more likely that lamp is sitting around somewhere.
And if the lamp is sitting around somewhere, I wouldn't be surprised to see either or both of these runners just completely skip it and move on. I'd be willing to bet that being in the Gold Sword bracket, they're both perfectly capable of handling all the dark rooms.
So both runners so far avoiding the eastern area and the 3 checks in Saha's closet and the potentially three checks in the Eastern Palace. Given what they've had on hand so far, it makes sense that they've avoided it. But we could still find something interesting over there, such as maybe the lamp to put everything back in logic. And Shkoople used the flute to get down to desert to do the Agina's cave check much more quickly. That check, if you're just getting down there on foot, takes so long. So Shkoople is going to rescue the old man in the dark and head up the mountain. We'll see where Virtuacat goes. Virtuacat's actually going to take it over to Eastern, so we have some more divergence.
So I'd be curious to see if this is an Eastern play or just checking Saha's Closet, because that's 3 items that are always in logic at the start of the game.
Green Pendant Turtle Rock. That's a lot. Turtle Rock has a lot of requirements to get in there and to complete the dungeon, so that really shortens the list of items that we're going to need for Go mode. No, or very unlikely we're going to see an Ice Rod hunt this game.
Yeah, that'd be some really obscure logic if the Ice Rod ends up being required, since it's only going to lock 1 item.
Well, it could lock 2 items because there's always the potential for PED.
And it is the green pendant, so that would make it 3.
Well, we don't know if Trinex will really have an item or not. I was thinking green pendant and pedestal, but yeah, it could be 3.
So potential of 3. But 2 items guaranteed blocked behind that Ice Rod. Well, see, in Paradox Cave, we just have a shield and a mirror.
Mirror is going to be big
when in the bottom.
When we do finally find the Moon Pearl somewhere, which, interestingly enough, Virtuacat not finding progression in Saha's Closet. Does it have to be in Eastern at this point?
We got 2 more checked here in Paradox. And there's our Moon Pearl in Paradox Cave.
So, Lamp in Eastern, probably.
Oh, Lamp could be anywhere. Well, yeah. Yeah, I think that's right, because they do need to have either a Lamp or a Fire Rod. Potentially on Zora.
It is potentially on Zora, but another item in Eastern. It's going to be big. What is this item in the big chest in the Eastern then?
Now the big question I have at this point is the missing item a lamp or a fire rod? Because if it's a fire rod, it's a lot more necessary of an item than the lamp is. If it's a lamp, you can get your fire source with the fire rod, and you can skip it entirely. If it does end up being the fire rod that's your intended access, then that's something that you still have to go back and find.
So hookshot and boots. Let's see if Shkoople sets up a Harapot. It looks like he's going to. Yep. Using a bomb setup. Using the setup that actually works without boots. Not quite getting it, but this trick is actually pretty tricky.
Yeah, it just requires some good one-frame movements.
So yeah, with Eastern not having the progression, that just leaves Zora himself, right? We're gonna have to do some money farming. It looks like coming up. One thing chat has said, Virtuacat's next stop being Ice Rod Cave is probably correct. There's not a lot of places left for him to go. And even if he were to sequence break the mountain right now, it doesn't get him a whole lot until he gets that hook shot. He probably has to go
Right.
straight to Ice Rod Cave next. Tower of Hera can't have the progression because we don't have logical mountain access yet. The flute was locked behind a fire source. Oh, do we see Virtuacat bail out before getting to the big key chest?
Definitely bailed before the boss. I think they might have gotten all 3 items and decided to come back later to finish it up.
Well, that
They
makes
don't have
sense.
the bow, so
Yeah,
they
you don't have
to
the bow.
anyway.
Virtuacat's going to do Houlihan Room to start building up money for Zora. I think Virtuacat has realized that there is a high chance that progression is on Zora. My guess is he's building up money so that he can do Ice Rod Cave and immediately do the water walk up to Zora's River afterwards. Yep, and fluting to 8 to do exactly that. A shovel on Spec Rock. Still not in logic, but an interesting item to find early. Oh, our tracker is letting us know that what Virtuacat was doing, I had missed this. He went into the back area with the boss to grab all of the money from the Eastern Palace rupee room, which makes sense.
Oh, that's a pretty heads up play.
Yeah,
so it looks like
that's
he's
a good
farming
plan.
pretty hard to go get that money.
That makes sense to me. We know Zora has to have something, and there's a good chance it's Lamp.
We got a Dark World check. We got Red Crystal Pod and Ice Palace, and Pendant Thieves Town and Skull Woods.
So we were kind of happy about the Pendant Turtle Rock, but Pendant Skull Woods and Pendant Thieves Town. I guess how we realized that there's a little bit of mismarking on the Light World dungeons. All 3 Light World dungeons are crystals, which is what you want to see. But Skull Woods and Thieves Town being pendants, ugh.
Yeah, it's never fun to see. Then you got to make that choice of whether you go in and look for items or not.
Also with the very low requirements for Skullwoods and Thieves Town, which Skullwoods overlapping with Turtle Rock, we now have a bunch of items that have the potential of being on ped, such as flippers. So we could end up having a required TR game. We'll see. Uh-oh, Virtuacat sequence breaking up the mountain without the hook shot.
No, Virtuacat does have the hook shot.
Oh, sorry, he did go to Ice Heart Cave, my bad. But skipping Zora, interesting.
If from Virtuacat's perspective, it kind of makes sense. If they're assuming it's a lamp that is blocking that flute, again, probably don't care. And just going to continue assuming they have it and forget about that logic. But I would still be concerned about the possibility of a fire rod on Zora.
Well, here's the other thing to be concerned about, and what would make me want to go grab that lamp if it's out there. Um, well, Virtuacat doesn't know this yet, but with Skull Woods and Turtle Rock both being pendants, Fire Rod might not be required at all. It could be in Ganon's Tower.
It could, yeah. So, I mean, if that's the case, then, holding off on Zora for the whole game would make sense.
So it looks like Shkoople, after heading into the Dark World, is going up into the East Dark World area with Pyramid. We'll see if he takes it all the way up to Catfish. Missing Bow, Pod's kind of a weird play.
It is. There's a lot of items there, and for the most part, they're all accessible except for the boss, but you are potentially breaking a lot of logic to do it. And you could be setting yourself up for a double dip.
Yeah, one of the things that was weird for me to get my head around with Pod. So Pod is bow locked if you don't have a small key in the first chest in the shooter room, but with 4 out of the first 6 chests being required to have a key, there's a really good chance that Pod isn't bow locked. And then on top of it, with a potion, you can still break your way into the bow locked side anyway. So it makes it a hard choice to decide whether or not you go in there without the bow. But it looks like Shkoople's decision was, hey, let's go to Pyramid because from there we can easily mirror and clear out the front of Escape, which wasn't done by Shkoople yet.
Yeah, that's a good, efficient way to route it in if you don't do it early in the game.
So as the runners are kind of retracing each other's steps a little bit, if you are enjoying this game, enjoying these races, please give our runners a follow. They are in the Gold Sword bracket in the Mentor tournament, and that is no small feat. This has been a very, very challenging tournament to get through. Also, give the Go Mode Podcast Discord or Go Mode Podcast channel a follow, and check out the Go Mode Podcast Discord, where you can get a lot of information on races and a link to the past randomizer, as well as access to a bi-weekly Go Mode podcast. Looks like Virtuacat's having a little bit of trouble with a couple spills in Tower of Hera. Trying to get around holes in the floor in general in the Link to the Past is tricky, because as soon as you start to touch the edge, they try to suck you in. It's awful to try to deal with.
Yeah, if you're off by just a little bit and you're not paying real close attention, you can definitely get in trouble pretty quick.
Virtuacat using the hammer to mash down Moldworm really fast.
And there's something... Is there an item in the basement then? I didn't catch if we got 1 or 2 items during the climb.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either. It's possible.
I'm going to guess there is, since we killed it, although it's also a crystal, so... yeah, and our tracker is confirming for me that there is an item in Hera basement. So that's also locked behind fire somewhere.
and we say fire with very heavy quotes, with very heavy quotes, because we have a suspicion that that fire source is sitting on King Zora, the scamfish himself. Oh, we have Shkoople trying to do the current jump
attempt here.
This is a trick that I've never been able to get nailed down. So you actually have to use the bomb and try to jump at the right time when the bomb's exploding. So the explosion pushes you into the screen transition and puts you into fake flipper. It is
it's
not
a
easy.
Tough bit of timing, and he gets it.
And he definitely took quite a few tries, but even getting it with that many tries is impressive. That trick is difficult.
Yeah, on the plus side, it's not hard required on this seed, since they do always have the option to just flute to 5 and go walk around.
Kaesden, we might have both runners descending on King Zora at the same time.
It's starting to look that way.
Virtuacat doing a really cool thing that I like to do. When you go into the whirlpool, your momentum between the whirlpools is maintained. So if you come into that whirlpool from the bottom right, it gives you the best momentum to get up into the waterfall without taking a hit from a Zora. And as we know in Fake Flipper, if you take a hit while you're swimming, it automatically kills you. And Red Mail on Zora Ledge.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to be seeing that this seed, so we're going to be stuck on Blue Mail. And almost synced out going to Zora.
And it's the fire
rod.
And that puts everything back in logic. But now both runners have to be worried about the item in the basement of Tower of Hera. Because given the way that the logic fell, it's very possible that their opponent went to Zora first.
Yeah, it's got to be in the back of both of their minds that their opponent already has this and is already doing wherever they're about to be heading. And thinking we might be getting a Skull Woods play out of Shkoople, or possibly just going into Village of Outcasts.
It's hard to tell.
Which way he goes after the portal.
With gloves and hammer, you have to do this like weird long path to get to the village Dark World portal, and it can be difficult to tell where a runner's going until after they've gone through. And it looks like Shkoople is going to start with Village of Outcasts.
That makes sense. It's a more dense area. You could potentially get up to 3 items from the front Thieves Town, which is a really quick check, especially with boots. Plus the 3 items from the various houses in the town.
No, it looks like Virtuacat is just retracing Shkoople's footsteps. Virtuacat appearing to be behind just by virtue of doing a long dip into the Eastern Palace area, which Shkoople has not done yet. And it looks like we found Tempered Sword in Village of Outcasts. And Flippers.
And our Flippers. So Village of Outcasts pulling off nicely.
We are starting to limit down the items that could end up being on PED. so far, I think the only items that I see that could potentially be on pad would be the bow or a possible required bombos from Meyer.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And even if it's a bow, with the progressive bows, all that could end up being at silvers, depending on where the other one is. Is Shkoople going to Swamp Palace, looks like?
I mean, that makes sense. We have everything to
It
do
does.
Swamp Palace. And Swamp Palace has more items in it than any other dungeon. So it's very often lucrative if it's available early. The only worry about it is if you do Swamp Palace early and it's completely empty, there's a chance that your opponent gets to cut out a lot of time by go moding it. Swamp Palace is one of the dungeons that benefits hugely from go mode.
Yeah, that's very true. Swamp Palace and Pod, I'd say, can be two of the biggest time saves doing go mode.
Yeah, it used to be that that Swamp Palace and Ice Palace were the two that you really wanted to wait for last so that you had a chance at go moding it. But with the legalization of Icebreaker, Ice Palace is half the dungeon it used to be. And with both of our runners having Samaria so early, I'm sure that we're going to end up seeing Icebreaker. So, looking at what we still have left out there, it looks like really the next major progression we're trying to find is those Titan's mitts. Titan's mitts would give us
and a bow.
Yeah. The bow is interesting because it would give us the ability to complete both Eastern and Pod, but without the bow, as we were saying with the potion camera unlock, we can still check most of the checks in both dungeons without that bow. The mitts.
Yeah, I suspect we're going to see Swamp Palace and Ice Palace cleared before we really start looking. Well, we can't clear Ice Palace till we get the mitts. That's right.
The mitts in one fell swoop would give us Ice Palace access, Desert Palace access, and probably Mire, depending on if it's Bombos or not. So finding mitts, suddenly you're in dungeon mode, clearing a bunch of crystals. Virtuacat doing the Village of Outcasts dungeon that Shkoople did not do, looking for items in Skullwoods, and doesn't look like he found much. Finding just rupees, and I didn't catch what the other item was.
Shkoople just found our ice rod in Swamp Palace.
Well, when Turtle Rock is a pendant, Ice Palace or Ice Rod has to be along the way, right?
It always is, and you don't like to see it because then that starts you thinking, well, we might have to go do this dungeon, and that's a big time commitment to go clear out Turtle Rock.
At least for now, we don't have to worry about Turtle Rock because that is yet another thing that is locked behind the mitts. Mitts being one of the items that just locks so much away. In fact, one of my favorite items to have for Go mode is mitts because that is so much you don't have to worry about checking.
We got a very clean quick kill from Shkoople on Argus, using the fire rod and a spin.
Yeah, and that's a neat little trick. Just hitting with fire rod at the right timing and getting the spin to prevent Argus from flinching and jumping back away, because Argus's leap away is slow. It looks like Shkoople is now going to do the eastern area. Probably going to loop in Pod and Eastern together along with Sahasrara's Closet. So a little bit of gained efficiency here over Virtuacat. And chat is saying that Shkoople didn't clear out left side swamp.
That's a bit of a gamble.
I'll be interested to know how many items were over there. I didn't quite catch it. I would be surprised if it was more than just one, though.
Yeah, if it was more than one, I'm sure Shkoople would have gone back in. So it's probably just one item, but being one item, it could be anything.
A chat saying the seed moves whenever you need to left side swamp in real time. I kind of feel like that's the case after my matchup. I'll say.
It sure feels like it sometimes.
So Pod is not bow locked in stereo. So that can be an indicator that something really important is in the back of Pod. One of the funny things about randomizer is if you expect a dungeon to be locked by an item, and you go and you actually find the keys to be able to get to the back of the dungeon, particularly Pod and Turtle Rock, that could be an indicator that something is hidden back there. The amount of times that I've had to dive bowless Pod just to find an item in the back that leads to bow.
Or to find a bow in the back. Or even one of your bows on the bow locked side of Pod. That happens. I've seen that plenty of times.
Yeah, our Restreamer is also fairly certain that it was one item left behind in left side swamp, and Shkoople's going to do the potion camera unlock, which is a cool trick where you use a potion while moving, and for some reason that breaks the camera, so that when you enter the next room, all you have to do is move the mimics off of the side of the screen to make the game think that they're dead.
And there's our bow locked bow.
A bow locked bow. So logically, that's silvers. Where is the normal bow? Oh, that's interesting, because now Shkoople can clear this entire dungeon, but
And
not
Eastern.
in logic. Oh yeah, this and Eastern. So that's 2 crystals, and if he doesn't find the other bow, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, with Tempered Sword, I don't see that being an issue at all.
That is
That other bow
huge.
may end up just turning up somewhere along the route.
You know, it would be
So all we're
crazy.
looking for now is the mids, right?
Yeah, and possibly Bombos.
Yeah, potentially Bombos.
We get Powder in Pod. So Virtuacat is going to do left side swamp, and he's going to do it with the diver down setup. Um, wouldn't it be crazy if the other bow is in left side swamp?
I'd say that would be really bad for Virtuacat. I think best case scenario is that the mids are back here from Virtuacat's perspective.
So Shkoople doing a little bit of a pause break. I know that pause break very well. You're going into the dark maze in Pod, and that pause break is so that you can go online and find the map to the dark maze.
Yeah, this is a really good dark room to be able to know how to do. If you're going to be playing a seed and assuming you're not getting a lamp, you better know how to get to where you need to go without that lamp. Shkoople doing a good job so far. Looks like might be hung up a little bit.
Yeah, I was kind of alluding to this in the Go Mode podcast Discord earlier. V31 seems to like to create seeds that are either aggro required, so you get lamp really early, or a dark room seed where lamp is just buried somewhere horrible, and as Kaesden pointed out to me, or it's both if you have a late item on Lumberjack. But given we escaped Aga early, I'm not surprised we have a lot of dark rooms to do. And if I'm not mistaken, was that the 4th bottle in Left Side Swamp?
Looks like it, yeah. So people will probably not be going back to get that.
I might be completely wrong because I am cheating and just reading it off the tracker.
That's what I'm doing as well. I see a 4 on Virtuacat's side, so I'm going to assume that was the 4. And our tracker just told me there was a piece of heart in Left Side Swamp.
Ah, piece of heart. I can't cheat my way through everything. So Shkoople going in to do the very challenging Dark Turtle Room. The one advantage that he has is with the fire rod, there are some torches that you can light to be able to fight those turtles. However, they love to get in the way of the shot.
And they're really good at it.
but Shkoople doing a good job to get far enough to the left to get past the turtles and sneak the shot by. It's basically like a sport, trying to get past the goalies to hit the goal. We have a pretty straightforward Helmasaur King fight. Helmasaur King in his normal room is generally pretty straightforward.
Yeah, he's not too bad, especially if you have a tempered sword. Goes down pretty quick. Just a couple slashes after you break the helmet.
Virtuacat cleaning up the hobo under the bridge check, while it looks like he is also on his way over to the pod area.
And Shkoople mirroring straight into Eastern, which is fully expected at this point. We seem to be running pretty short on locations where those mitts could be hiding.
Well, that's actually one of the key characteristics about mitts. Mitts lock so many things that you run out of available checks really quickly. It locks all of Dark Death Mountain. It locks Ice Palace. It locks Mire area. Because we don't have book, it locks all of Desert. So very few things for us to go check. Additionally, it locks all of Smith Chain.
Yeah, it's one of those items that's probably my favorite one to see to get a mitts go mode seed. It almost always tends to turn out to be a very fast seed just because of how many locations are locked. And if it's the last thing you need to find, assuming Bombos stays being not required, well, as soon as you find that, you're off.
Yeah, and we're not going to be able to know if Bombos is required or not until after we get those mitts. Because we can't do either check for the medallions until mitts are found. So yeah, definitely a hunt for mitts and possibly Bombos. After Eastern, we basically have the remainder of...
I think we have pendants at that point.
Yeah, Skullwoods and the back of Thieves Town, which wasn't completed.
So I know Virtuacat dipped into Skullwoods. I got one of the items was a red ruby. I don't remember if they found the other item or if they left one in the back.
And we still also have the curious case of the out of logic bow. Although, without finding any progression so far in Eastern and Pod, that bow could still potentially be anywhere and could just be logical go mode. But yeah, this could be a pretty quick seed if the game thinks that both players are supposed to have lamp and bow and buried them deep, and neither player actually needs them. There's nothing better than having a seed that is supposed to be this giant troll of a seed, and then you logic break one bow and it becomes cake.
Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite things about the bows being moved to progressive. It's just that you can do some of that nonsense stuff.
Yeah, and a couple people bringing to my attention, it's something that should still be in the back of our minds. We could have mitts in Hera basement still.
This is true.
And I would have to think that that's a last location for both of the players.
Yeah, that's gonna be the last place they want to go do a whole mountain climb just to go look at that. I saw a little bit of hesitation there from Shkoople. I'd be willing to bet Shkoople's talking to Shareen, and they were probably discussing that possibility and where and when to go back there.
I think the other interesting conversation that happens because you're in this area, and hopefully I didn't miss this, using powder to check magic bat, even though, well, I don't even know if it's out of logic or not.
They have it mirrored, so it's definitely in logic because they can just mirror from the dark world.
No, they can't mirror from the dark world because of the because they don't have mitts, but
right,
they can hammer
right.
to go through in light world. The question that I have though is that powder came out of the back of pod, and it depends on the key layout if that was available or not.
It was in the basement, the rupee basement. So that is in logic with the fire rod.
Okay, so it was the heart piece was the other item in Skullwoods. So Skullwoods is empty because it's a heart piece and
is dead.
Rupee. So we have Magic Bat, back of Thieves Town, and the Hera basement. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see a French vanilla mitts in Thieves Town, and that's the biggest density left. So
I would not be surprised actually to see it in Hera basement at this point. And whoever finds it there is not going to feel very good because they're going to be immediately assuming their opponent got it the first time up there.
Yeah, that's going to send the sirens blaring for both racers the moment they see that.
But let's see what's in Thieves Town first.
And chat bringing up a good point. Virtuacat's going to be coming up on this turtle room without enough magic to use the fire rod to fight the turtles. That's going to be a really challenging fight.
Yeah, that's definitely not easy to do if you don't have magic.
So Shkoople making his way up to Pendant Thieves Town attic. Man, how many times do you see progression in Pendant Thieves Town all the way in the back? It kind of always feels bad.
It does, but we're starting to run out because we find another red rupee up in the attic.
Virtuacat entering the dark turtle room. Let's see how he does. Getting a couple of them right off the bat. Only one left. This is that was amazingly good.
And yep, I think that was the last one. Very well done. Completely in the dark.
Who needs fire rod? Am I right?
Apparently no one. Or at least not Virtuacat.
I've done that turtle room a couple times myself before, but never was it that clean.
I think about the only way that could be more challenging is if you have to do it swordless.
So we have one item and one compass left in Thieves Town. It's bombs in Thieves Town. So compass left. It looks like Shkoople's leaving the maiden behind.
Gonna go check Magic Bat and find out if it's gonna be there or in their basement.
Has to mirror first and use the hammer. No mitts to get in there through the Dark World method.
You know, at the same time, if either runner had found those mitts early in Hera basement, that opens up so many more checks that finding them late is actually a blessing.
And there's the mitts on Magic Bat.
On Magic Bat.
Oh, and you get a little bit of worry too that Magic Bat is both close and such a quick check. Like, did you just lose a bunch of time by doing the back of Thieves Town?
Yeah, that's still a possibility after Virtuacat finishes Eastern. If they decide to go over and check Magic Bat before dipping into the Dark World, it could make up a bunch of time.
Go mode. Bombos
Yeah,
is required. Bombos. This seed still has one last troll in for us, and the worst part about this, Bombos could still be on Pet.
Depending on what it takes to open TR, yes.
That's so brutal too, because one of the interesting things about randomizer when you're talking about the medallions, you would think that opening up a dungeon, it's like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 for any particular medallion, right? Not quite. If you already have medallions, it's actually more likely to be the medallions that you already have, because there's the chance that unneeded medallions are just stashed away in GT.
Yeah, that's very true.
So to have 2 medallions, it's even better than a 2/3 chance that you have what you need, and then to see Bombos on Meyer is kind of deflating a bit. But with those mitts, Shkoople still has plenty to do. He still has Desert. He still has Ice Palace. The mitts opened up so much, which actually is kind of a scary thing.
Yeah, because now they have the whole Smith chain. They have, all of East Death Mountain, Dark Death Mountain, Turtle Rock is open. There's just, it could be anywhere now.
It's the pendant Turtle Rock edition of the Ice Rod Hunt. Yeah, and it's not like access was kind of gradually opened up. Mitts was a floodgate. So Virtuacat going into Village of Outcasts now that he's completed the eastern area. Let's see if he goes straight into Thieves Town, considering that he hasn't done the front of it at all, or does Magic Bat first. Oh, and goes straight into Thieves Town. So these runners are basically coming up with the same decisions, and Virtuacat, just by nature of being a little bit less efficient with the routing, is just a bit further behind. Almost a 1 cycle with the Fire Rod on Land Mows on the Shkoople side. Just a quick cleanup slash in cycle 2.
And just gets $1 for his efforts.
So Shkoople just cleaning up by checking Checkerboard Cave, and then probably going into Ice right after that, because if you can clear a crystal, just go clear a crystal. And there really isn't anything that Shkoople could find that would make Ice Palace faster than it is now.
Right. Yeah, I expect to see Ice Palace next. That makes sense. You know, go clear out the crystals you have, because if your progression is along the way, making progress on your crystals as well as searching for that go mode item that you need.
And another thing too that I've been told, like if there's a place that you have to clear out and you get to the point in which there is no way to make it faster, then you go and do it. And I mean, we have Samaria, we have Fire Rod. There really isn't anything that we're worried about for making this Palace any faster.
And you know where Bombos could still be? That Hera basement.
It could be. That would just put us all in for a long haul. Well, now that the runners are going to be making their way up to Dark Death Mountain at some point, there's a bit more of an opportunity for them to take that trek into Hera basement. You know what else we haven't seen? We haven't seen Spike Cave yet.
This is true, and that's something that would route in nicely with cleaning up Hera basement. But I'd be willing to bet they're going to go over to East Dark Death Mountain first, and then finish up with Hera basement, Spike Cave. But then the question is, when would you route in Turtle Rock, if that might be the answer?
Chat also bringing up a good point. Ice Palace is our second 5/6 crystal, which will give us Pyramid Fairy access. That's another thing that could be routed in before we head up to Mountain. Oh no, Virtuacat not thinking about Magic Bat and is actually going to check the basement of Hera. Now, unless this is Bombos, this is a big time sink for Virtuacat, unfortunately.
Yeah, it really is.
But if I'm a betting man, and I know in the past I have been, I'm not liking the chances for Virtuacat here. Of course, he doesn't know it. He thinks that he's just checking the last couple locations for mitts, and that this has a really good chance of being mitts, and that's fair. It's just a shame that he left the Kakariko Village of Outcasts area before checking Magic Bat.
And it's bombs, but it's not bombos. Gonna get a Spike Cave check, looks like. We don't have a cane or a cape. Does Virtuacat have a potion still?
With 4 bottles, I would expect...
Oh, there's a fairy and a blue potion.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he would use the fairy first, because I don't know that the 7 hearts are going to be enough for him to get. Oh, there's a bit of invincibility.
Yeah, there's a significant amount of iframes from a fairy res. No, that makes sense to save blue potion. So blue potion is a lot more valuable to use later, even though they could easily go buy a couple more if they really want to.
See, and I am a blue potion addict that likes to kick my fairies to the curb. I am not familiar with the extra bit of iframes you get when you revive from a fairy. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think those iframes come into play a whole lot except in Spike Cave. Other than that, they're just kind of there and you don't really pay too much attention. But if you are using a fairy in Spike Cave, you can use that to get by with a fairly small number of hearts.
And it looks like Shkoople is going to go pick up the big red bomb to see what Pyramid Fairy has. And Virtuacat finally getting his mitts, opening up absolutely everything. But we'll expect him probably to do the exact same things, check out the Mire area, go through Desert, and then head over to Ice Palace, because they are the plays that make the most sense. Probably heading to stock up on potions first. That makes sense. You have a ton of money, 4 bottles. This will probably keep you for the entire game.
Yeah, with the flute, it doesn't take much time to go buy those. So it's nice to have those safeties just to know they're there. As long as you don't play like me and just refuse to use them.
It's always the worst when you try to get greedy and you have all of those safeties yet. And Pyramid Fairy not having anything. Maybe something interesting for bottle. Red potion for the bottles. That's
not
bad.
going to complain about a free red goo.
So continuing on in our
next
Bombos hunt, yeah, and it looks like mountain, which makes sense.
It does.
You have Super Bunny Cave, which is 2 checks, Hookshot Cave, which is 4 checks. You might be able to get into Turtle Rock, which
really, I think what you want to see is that Turtle Rock also requires bombos. That's the ideal outcome at this point.
Yeah, then you don't even have to worry about pet anymore. I would be surprised if Turtle Rock is bombos, but it's possible.
Yeah, but if it's not, then jumping in there makes a lot of sense.
And we still have the curious case of the missing lamp and bow. How many of those items do you think are in Turtle Rock if we can get in there?
You know, at this point, with the amount of sequence breaks being done, it's a little hard to keep up with what's actually in logic. And we got a book in Super Bunny Cave.
Oh, late fetch quest items are always feels bad, man.
They really are.
At least being up on the mountain, it's quick to check Ether Tablet, but Bombos Tablet's pretty far out of the way.
And Hookshot Cave is empty.
Only the book, and that. I think if there was one item that was left that you would like to see least, it was book.
Yeah, you got to go to 2 opposite ends of the map for the 2 checks that opens up. One of them you're right next to, but the other one's pretty far away.
So Shkoople going to do Ether Tablet first, not even taking a peek at what Turtle Rock is. Probably going to go back after Ether Tablet. only 50
I wonder if we're
bucks
going to
to
end
use
up
that
with the vanilla bombos.
That's definitely a possibility, and a really gross possibility to that. So Shkoople
I think
actually,
it's far more likely to be in Turtle Rock, but would be interesting to see.
if Shkoople was going to go back and clean up the basement of Hera, that would absolutely be the time to do it. Which is why I think I would have checked the entry medallion into Turtle Rock first, and then if it was Bombos, then I would think about routing in Hera basement.
Yeah, I think Shkoople may have just made a calculated assumption at this point that Turtle Rock has to be openable. And spending the time on the coffee break room if Turtle Rock is open, I'd rather leave the coffee break for after Turtle Rock.
Yeah, with the number of items that Turtle Rock has, I think it's 5 and then 1 more for the green pendant. Is it 5 or 6? I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
I'm not remembering either now that you mention it, but yeah, it's 7 total.
Okay, so yeah, 7 total. If we couldn't get into Turtle Rock, that would have limited things so much. It would be hard to see Turtle Rock not being available. So 2 keys in the fire-locked side, 1 big, 1 small. We see Virtuacat doing exactly as we thought, cleaned up desert, and then went right into Ice Palace after that. Totally sensible play. So, bunch of keys in the front of Turtle Rock. So I'm kind of expecting at least one of the bow or lamp here in Turtle Rock, and then Bombos in here somewhere. And then my guess is whatever the other item is that's left over is somewhere in Mire.
Yeah, that seems likely.
But with Mire being the only crystal left that Shkoople would have to complete, if we find Bombos soon, this could still be a really fast seed.
Yeah, it just depends where it decides to turn up.
It's not Bombos in the lava chest, but Bomb's Trace. I really wanted that joke to work. I'm not sure it did.
I liked it. I liked it.
Question in chat, wasn't Mitts locked by a bow locked pod? It turns out no. Without bow, you still had full access to get to the dark rupee room in pod to get the powder.
About to see my favorite check in the cave. This place has burned me more than once.
Yes, this definitely ignites your fire. but doesn't
Not
do
today.
anything for Shkoople today. For
I've
anybody,
learned that's another one of those locations that only has something when you decide to skip it.
for anyone not getting the references, we're referencing another race in the tournament, race between Kaesden and Windfox, where Fire Rod was all the way down in Mimic Cave, which is a very tough location to find it.
There's our lamp.
There's the lamp. Oh, version 31. Why do you do these things? The
It loves to put that lamp in Turtle Rock lately.
it's actually really good at putting the lamp in the chest immediately prior to a lamp-locked dark room.
It's a good point. I've seen it quite a few times in pod as well, right before doing the maze.
I've seen it quite a few times in Big Chest and Eastern as well.
Yep.
The changes to the logic that allows certain dark rooms to be completable with Fire Rod has certainly made Lamp a very interestingly placed item in most non-Aga seeds.
And we get a mushroom.
Mushroom in the bottom of Turtle Rock, which means even if that's progression, Shkoople still wants to clean up Trinex before even checking it out.
Yeah, you definitely want it. So you don't want to go back to Turtle Rock just to kill Trinex. That's a huge time commitment.
So very likely the entirety of Turtle Rock is required. And we still have the possibility that Bombos is on Ped. And with Book being so late, nobody's had the opportunity to even check that yet.
Chat making the point that the first bow might be on that mushroom. I'm not sure if that's logically possible. I can't keep up with where the logic is right now, but seems possible.
We, with the exception of just collecting the crystals for Eastern and Pod, we are in logic. Actually, which means Pyramid Fairy was not in logic.
This is true.
So we have the green pendant turn in, we have Ped, and we have Bombos tablet.
The Ped dream is still alive.
And Shkoople is fine with saying sayonara, Hera basement. Probably has figured that his
Straight to the
opponent
mushroom.
checked it a long time ago. Oh, and chat bringing up a good point. We didn't see any of Smith Chain yet. That when you get this late,
and there's Bombos.
Bombos on the mushroom.
So Bombos was in Turtle Rock, just with extra steps.
So that's half of my prediction with the lamp and Bombos being from Turtle Rock. Let's see if first logical bow ends up being in Mire. We might not even get a chance to see it now that Shkoople is actually officially in go mode now at about 1 hour and 22 minutes.
Depending where that big key is, they might not clear much of this dungeon at all. Or could end up full clearing almost the whole thing.
You know what I would really want to see now, and we would only find it out from the credits at this point? is if we see that the bow sleeps again forever.
At least if it's there, we will see it.
Nothing brings me more joy than completely cheating the logic out of a ped seed. Not very fun for chat, but definitely fun for me.
Oh, I enjoy it too. I'm sure the runners would be very happy to see that also.
So, yeah, it still looks though like from the early game routing, just the Shkoople being able to avoid the double dip of Eastern and having a bit cleaner execution. Virtuacat's just pretty far behind and is now unfortunately doing Smith Chain, which we know doesn't have anything in it. Shkoople not wanting to go up to Dark Death Mountain. And that is definitely one.
Virtuacat, you mean?
Oh, did I say something other than Virtuacat?
Yeah, I think you said Shkoople, or I heard Shkoople.
Yeah, Virtuacat doing Smith Chain, and we know that nothing's there, and it's one of the challenging things that comes up when you have something like Mitts unlock so many possibilities when searching for that last piece of Go mode.
Yeah, and if Bombos had ended up being on Smith Chain, then Virtuacat would have been, all that time gap would have just been made up almost instant at that point from the TR dip. But since TR ended up being the answer, the gap is just going to keep growing at this point.
So, question in chat. Yep, Smith can be bow. The only things that are logically locked behind the bow are the crystals for Pod and Eastern, which means Pyramid Fairy would be out of logic for bow. Bow could be anywhere else. Anywhere else that's not GT. And Virtuacat...
We are coming up to Vidi here pretty soon.
Yeah. Yep. Virtuacat finding Cape off of the Smith Chain, which is pretty nice, and finally deciding it's time to head up the mountain, which is what he needs to do. So when we get to, or when Shkoople finally kills Vidi, that will be crystal number 7, and we have a game that we like to play. When we go to Ganon's Tower, there are 22 locations in the basement that could have a big key, and you can guess where that big key is. And we will be starting that game as soon as we see the crystal for Vidi drop. And that was an extremely fast Richter's key. Here is the crystal, and get your guesses in for the GT Big Key guessing game. Anything from 1 to 22.
What number do you like to go with, Garrison?
Whichever number is wrong, apparently. I am still in my 0-win drought. I tend to like to call out locations because I do better with that, and I usually call out the Vanilla Compass Room chest. or the vanilla compass chest, which is the top left chest, the one that spawns the holes in Compass Room.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering which. I know it's in that room. I just never remember which chest it's in. It's one of those chests I don't think I've opened vanilla since playing the game as a kid.
Where do you think we're going to see the GT Big Key?
I almost always guess 12 or 13. I put 13 in this time.
While we're getting up there, again, if you like what you're seeing, give the runners a follow. These are the top players in a very difficult tournament. Definitely give them a follow. Give them your love. They're great runners. I watch them as well. Fantastic people. Also, give the GoMo Podcast Discord a follow, and your GoMo Podcast channel a follow, and join us on the Discord, where we have lots of information, lots of chatting. We set up races all the time, and we have a bi-weekly Go Mode podcast with everything, a link to the past randomizer in it. And now that we're entering GT, we're going to close that big key guessing game and see if we find out where the keys are. I would also like to thank our cast, or our restream cast, the Dude Garcia, for restreaming. He's been a beast with restreaming multiple of the games at a very early big key. It's only number 2.
1. Was that the first or second chest?
It was the second one. He had opened the left chest first.
I missed him hitting the left one. I just went right away. So yeah, number 2 for the big key. There's going to be a very fast Gen's tower going straight up to the gauntlet.
So Shkoople picking up 2 keys because he has decided it's a little bit quicker to pick up that second key than worry about killing the Helmosaur upstairs. And congratulations to Zero Nix for guessing the correct number of 2. You get 13 points and all of our love and affection. But as I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted by the big key, again, thank you to the Dude Garcia for restreaming and being a beast and picking up so many of the Mentor Tournament races this week. And I would also like to thank our tracker, fredAKAderf. Definitely give both of those a follow too. They are both racers in the Mentor Tournament as well. Virtuacat having some problems with the chain chomp room, and this room is a nightmare sometimes.
Yeah, it's really rough. They do so much damage on blue mail. Even on red mail, they hit really, really hard.
You have to have a pretty good strategy for what you're going to do, even going into that room, because they are nasty, nasty folks. And even with the strategy, they like to mess that up.
Yeah, they like to troll you, and wherever you expect they're gonna go, they just go the opposite direction. This time, very quick Landmo 2 fight from Shkoople.
A beautiful one cycle with Fire Rod. Did use up a lot of his magic though. And I know Virtuacat stocked up on potions. I'm not as familiar with what Shkoople's potion situation is.
I believe Shkoople has a red potion from the Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, that without half magic and using all of that magic on Landmos, that could make his magic situation a little bit tricky here though.
If he's not careful. There might be a green potion still sitting in the bottle, though. I'm not sure if that ever got used.
pulling out the lamp because he's aware of how short he is on magic.
There's enough magic left to... Oh, he does have a blue potion, so fine.
If Shkoople didn't have that blue potion, I think he still would have been alright if he had traveled down and picked up that little magic first, and then used lamp to light all of the torches. As soon as you get into the next room, there is a pot with a full magic refill under it. Still checking a couple things in GT. Sometimes it's kind of just a weird habit of, hey, that chest is so close, let me check it. There's not a whole lot that we could find there. We already know it's not going to be red mail. We know that it's not going to be bow. Only potentially being butter sword or maybe cane of Verna. But
yeah, that's about all it could be. We know where the other armor, so it won't be there.
Yeah, and with Virtuacat picking up cape already, it's not going to be cape, so kind of the only thing it really could have been was butter sword. Aga geometry and Shkoople getting down Aga very quick. What is that? 3 cycles? That's a.
I believe so. Yeah.
The minimum of 2 cycles for Aga requires 2 triples, which is extremely difficult, if not impossible, if Aga shoots blue balls in that first phase. But getting Aga down in 3 cycles, I take that every time. And Shkoople dropping down in Ganon. Now, he's got full magic now, but doesn't have any magic refills left. We'll see if that ends up making a difference in the silver phase, or especially... Oh no, he does have lamp. We did finally find lamp in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, we do have the lamp, so it should be a pretty straightforward fight, but it is going to be silverless. Gotta watch his health too. Getting a little low there.
He does have a red still, so he should be okay there. And now that we're in phase 3, we're a lot safer. There is the chance to take a errant fire bat to the face in phase 4, so I'm surprised he hasn't taken that red potion yet.
Yeah, I would take that, if not right now, just right after getting the torch glitch set up. And they're in the light world, so they're almost certainly on bed for the first bow.
Oh, jeez. Either that or Bombos tablet still. It could still be on Bombos tablet.
That is true.
Do you remember how many hearts of damage it is for fire bats with blue mail? Because I'm afraid it is 3.
I want to say it's 3. It might be 2 in phase 4, though. I really can't remember.
I mean, Shkoople seems like he has this in hand right now, but 1 weird fire bat.
A hug is definitely going to kill him, though. If he gets too close. It's
and
not going to be an issue.
Yeah,
Shkoople taking down Ganon.
Yeah, Shkoople crossing the finish line with an official time of 1:38:38. A very quick time. Everybody get your GGs in chat for Shkoople. Very well run. Sen reminding us that even if Shkoople did take a hit, there was a fairy in a bottle. So that was a bit safer than we thought, but it's definitely a little bit nerve-wracking. We'll see if we can get Shkoople in for a post-game interview. Just getting the last couple things set up to bring in Shkoople and his mentor Shareen. But we should be able to talk to them shortly. And it looks like Virtuacat has put in a forfeit. May also be joining us soon. We'll see. And nope, still getting things set up for the interview. Welcome, Shkoople. Welcome, Shareen. GG. Congratulations on the win. How do you feel about the seed?
I was getting scared towards the end. Well, we weren't finding bombos anywhere, but overall, the beginning was really fun, really fast. Found all our stuff that we needed. But yeah, we were worried about left side swamp. It was a tough call to leave that item there.
And to leave it so early too, when there was still a couple items left for go mode, that can be a little bit nerve-wracking.
I mean, yeah, we went back and forth a couple of times, and then we just said, screw it.
Yeah, that and skipping Basement of Hera for so long too.
I shouldn't give this information away, but I just pretend that doesn't exist in my game unless I have
to. Fair enough.
I hate that room.
Yeah, because
I think everybody hates that. I think that tends to be a last location for a lot of people.
We were wondering as you walked past Ganon's tower to find out what was on Ether Tablet, if you were going to make the dive back in there and take a look at the basement or not.
That's something we talked about, but we decided not to. Mostly Shareen's call.
Yeah, it was a tough call because we were like in Mit's go mode for a while, and then when Bombos came on the table, it's like Bombos. If Bombos is pre-Mits, we're in a lot of trouble. The Mit situation. So we just felt 7 items in TR. We're okay, kind of taking that.
Yeah, we're also joined by Virtuacat and Flipheal. GG and welcome.
Bombos, right? Wow, I finally pieced together the logic of that seed. That's disgusting. Shasa had the logical bow, I guess.
Oh, so Trinex was required?
Yes.
Oh god.
Oh, so Sahasrara did have the final bow. So we couldn't tell if it was Ped, Sahasrara, or Bombos tablet.
Right.
Yeah, I just saw the credits scroll past the the pad on Shkoople's screen, and it was just some couch cash. But yeah, the actual logic for the seed was not. It wasn't nice.
It
Putting
was
so much
weird.
stuff in TR. It was just. It was strange, and it was not kind.
Like,
It's yeah. Go ahead.
my last 2 races have been from me. Have been lost because I did not go to TR when I should have. It's going to haunt me until the day that I die. Probably in like 7 months or something. I don't know at this point, but whatever. Good game to Shkoople.
Thanks, GG. That was a fun one.
Anybody have any interesting thoughts that came up when the bow was pulled out of the bow locked side of pod?
We're ahead.
We
Yeah.
were very surprised to find it there.
It was sick because at that point, not knowing if bombos was required, it's like we're cruising because if mitts end up like we were saying, if mitts end up being on left side, we're good because if mitts are our go mode, then who knows where that first bow could be. Like we were saying, like if someone gets their mitts from Thieves or Skull or Left Side Swamp, they're gonna full clear Ice, full clear Mire, Dark Death Mountain, TR. You know, we don't know where that logical first bow is, so we were feeling really good about our checks until we saw bombos was required, and then the whole thing kind of spiraled a little bit. But that first bow was fantastic.
Yeah, so we were talking about it a little bit, like Titan's Mitts Go mode is one of those fantastic things that you can see because so much is locked away that you end up getting that Go mode very early if Titan's Mitts is Go mode. But like it all spirals out of control if you find out it is the second last item from Go mode and suddenly everything's open.
Yep, that's pretty much why I hate Open in a Nutshell is the mitts. It's just not fun, but yeah, exactly. I think because we dipped Skull early since both items were in the front, so that was good. We did the front of Thieves, and then we had forgot Hobo, so when we did Hobo, we're like, you know, let's just do Pod. And then when we eventually found the bow, we were like, oh my god. So like we were like, what was in Thieves? And then when there was pretty much nothing in Thieves, we were just super confused the rest of the seed.
Oh, thinking about those water checks, one of the things that came up pretty early on that had us a bit worried, missing hookshot in Ice Rod Cave for a while for Virtuacat.
Yeah, we went back to it when we got flute.
Yeah, because we figured we were trying to get Zora money to couple Ice Rod with like water, using the boot setup, and yeah, it just took so long to get the Zora money, so it just took a little longer to get back there, which really wasn't too big a deal because we did find the flute and then went straight there. But
With flute being in Darkcross and with the items that we had found up on the mountain, did either of you kind of like piece together the puzzle that a fire source had to be on Zora? It was hard for us to tell because we had information from both sides. We don't know if either of you were able to figure that out.
We knew it once we got up to and did the Lights World Death Mountain. We didn't know if it was Lamp or if it was Fire Rod. We decided to do it just because it could have been Fire Rod, and luckily it worked out.
Well, one of the interesting things is that with Turtle Rock and Skull Woods both being pendants, it could have been the required lamp with Fire Rod in GT.
Yeah, that's not fun to think about.
Yeah, we were thinking about it for a while. I mean, it didn't really come into play until we saw where the pearl was. But at that point, we're like, okay, we're going to start at Hype Cave regardless so we can combo our shovel turn in. And then once we saw the map, it's like, we don't want to go to Village anyway. So, like, let's do Front of Escape with Barricade because that might have our logical fire source. Let's do, it could be either Front of Escape for us, Saha, Eastern, or Zora. We were going to go probably as far as Saha. But once we got it on Zora, then we felt like, okay, we're kind of good now. We're not really like skipping anything. It feels good when you chase after it and it ends up being the fire rod. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, I know that I was going back and forth with Kaesden trying to figure out if it was going to be fire rod, if it was going to be lamp, or something that led to one of those items. I kind of would have found it interesting if it ended up being lamp and then fire rod wasn't required for anything. That would have been interesting.
I kind of feel that more likely it's going to be fire rod just because the item locked was the flute, right? So flute being one of your pieces to access the mountain, lamp would have given you redundant access to the mountain, right? So if lamp was that item sitting in sphere 1, flute wouldn't have even need to be placed anywhere there because lamp would have opened the mountain for you. So, you know, the flute being that kind of item made me kind of smell the fire rod a little bit more than the lamp.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And then the lamp was in a great spot.
Classic.
Yeah, V31 really likes to put that lamp in some really nasty locations lately.
Yeah, I was saying that the only way that you're reliably going to get lamp early is if you have to do AGA 1.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of lamp in Misery Mire lately.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of lamp like just prior to the dark rooms. So the lamp right before going into the back of Mire, the lamp in the back of Pod, like in that 4 turtle room, lamp in the big chest of Eastern. It's weird how it likes to hang out right prior to those dark rooms. But yeah, I don't think I've seen lamp early without it being an AGA 1 seed, which is its whole other realm of troll. So, before we close this out, because I know we have a lot of other games coming up later on today, I'll turn it over to Shkoople first. Is there anything that you would like to say before we close this race out?
No, just GG. That was fun. Pretty cool seed to have on a playoff match, I think. I liked it.
And I will do the same for you, Virtuacat. Anything that you would like to shout out or say before we close up the interview?
Don't follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter at Virtuacat. I am significantly better at that than I am this.
Yeah, so definitely follow Virtuacat on Twitter, apparently, which is another great platform to follow people on. And go ahead and follow Shkoople on Twitch. I know I've watched a couple of Shkoople races on Twitch. They have played really well and gave us a great game. Give them a follow for sure. And I would again like to thank our cast. I would like to thank the Dude Garcia for taking on this restream of such a great race between these two runners. I would like to thank fredAKAderf for tracking. I would love to thank my co-commentator Kaesden for making this a complete blast to chat through. And I would also like to say, coming up on this channel, we do have 2 more Gold Sword bracket races coming up. I have those times here. Just give me a moment.
Oh, hey, real quick, I want to say thank you to Trinex, Nep, Shareen, and Flipheal for taking the time out to help me out with things, both like before and after games, just for practice. I really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Thank you to all of our mentors out there for making this possible. This is a tournament between a lot of new runners who, a lot of us haven't really run any races prior to May, and these mentors have really been helping us improve our game and navigate this tournament, and they're doing it just simply out of kindness and out of love for the game and for the runners. So thank you to everybody who's a mentor out there. It means a lot to the community and to this game. But bringing up the schedule for tonight, it looks like at 6 p.m. Eastern, we have the gold match race between Ricky of Kokiri and Irritable Penguin. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, we have the race between Omega Toysk and Laggy. So definitely don't miss them. We have races for the whole rest of today, and it's going to be great. And with that, I think it's time to sign out. I am wGarrison. Thank you for joining us, and co-commentating with me is...
This is Kaesden. Thanks, Garrison, for commentating. It's been a blast, and we will see you guys shortly.
All right, take care. Have a good evening, everybody.